Hi and welcome. In this chapter, we will discuss about data encryption in Amazon. So, when you create any virtual disk or any volume in Amazon, by default, it is not encrypted. So, it means, for example, let's say you deployed a virtual machines. So, this virtual machines comes with the operating system disk, or if you attach any other additional disk. So this disk 1 and disk 2 or a number of other disks if you attach, by default this is not encrypted. In a layman term, for example, let's say if someone goes into the Amazon data center and if they take out this disk, so they can easily read all the contents on this particular disk. Why? Because it is not encrypted. So in order to avoid this, we can use encryption in Amazon Web Services, so that even though somebody took your disk outside, so they're not able to read because of the encryption. So in order to do encryption on the disk, let's say this is the disk. So you wanted to do the encryption of the disk in Amazon, you have two options. Option one is you can use AWS managed key or managed encryption, or second one is customer managed key or customer managed encryption key. So the difference between these is, for example, let's say the disk will get encrypted. So now this contents inside this disk cannot be read outside by anyone. Why? Because this is encrypted. So in order to decrypt this, you need to have a key which is managed by AWS. If let's say if this key got compromised, then anyone can read the content inside this. So in order to avoid such scenario, some customers who are working on the confidential data, etc., they choose CMK, which is customer managed key, instead of AWS. So in this case, the key is with the customer. So even though let's say AWS managed key got compromised, there is nothing to do with it, because they need to have a customer managed key in order to decrypt this disk. So this is the difference between AWS managed key and customer managed key. So in order to implement encryption in the AWS, you need to have something called key management system, which is KMS. So in this KMS, you're going to create a key and you're going to store this key. So let's say if you are going to use a customer managed key, you're going to create a key and you're going to keep it in the KMS. So however, if you use AWS managed key, then you no need of to use the KMS, because by default AWS will take care of this. So let's go to the demo and we'll see how to create key in the KMS using customer managed key and how to encrypt the disk. So one important note, let's say you already created a disk. So you cannot encrypt once you create the disk. So the encryption will happen while creating the disk. So for example, let's say you wanted to deploy a VM. So you're selecting the disk. So during selection of disk, you need to select the encryption method. So if you forgot to create encryption during the creation, later you cannot do it. As a workaround, what you can do, you can take a snapshot of this particular disk. From this snapshot, you can convert the disk. So while converting, you can select encryption method. So this is how you will have a workaround to convert the existing disk into the encrypted disk. However, it is highly recommended to encrypt whenever you create any new volume. So let's go to the portal and we'll see how we can do the encryption.